in the news this week, also, I'm sure you've seen the video clips. It's been much debated on Twitter. I shouldn't say much debated, but basically just a pile on Tank Davis. Caught on video grabbing his, I don't think it's his wife, but it's definitely the mother of his children. Went over.
It's a woman.
Yeah, it's a woman.
Isn't that enough?
Yep. And in the video, if you haven't seen it, he walks over and snatches her up by her collar, but much the way you would grab a man before you would punch him in the face. It was just way too aggressive to be grabbing anyone, especially a woman. And needless to say, he's getting destroyed on social media, rightfully so. I know you've seen the video. Curious to hear your thoughts.
Listen, I'm going to go one route with this. People need to know how they need to behave as human beings. So I'm not going to go down that road. People are responsible for their own behaviors. I'm going to just go down the road of this for me. I care about all those things. But this again, it's wrong. But the part I'm going to talk about right here is that this again speaks to what I have spoken of and I've called for in boxing forever. Whether here on this show or 23 years on ESPN, a national commission as there is in other sports, not only to handle corrupt and incompetent judges and decisions, but to handle behavior in a sport where being a professional fighter is a privilege. Being an NFL player, an NBA player, an MLB player, it's a privilege. Yeah, you got the talent. Yeah, you work your backside off. I salute you for that. It's a privilege to be able to make that kind of money, to have fans come up to you, to watch you, to care about what you do. And these great fans out there, they care about these guys. They get, just like they get attached to the football players and the teams I talked about before. I started the show by congratulating you guys for the race, but also congratulating the Kansas City fans who for 50 years, they invest something. Mm-hmm. The fans invest something in these guys. So it's not just, it's a privilege. You have a responsibility with that privilege. You have a responsibility as a human being first. As a man, as a person, as a human being. You have a responsibility of how you act, how you behave. But now you're on top of it, you're in the spotlight. You're making millions of dollars. Yeah, it's because of your talent. Yeah, it's because of your hard work. Yeah, it's because of your power. Yeah, it's helped by your promoters and the people that pick the fights and that do the job that they do for you. But at the end of the day, it's a privilege to be given that forum, that opportunity, all those things. There's a lot of talented people out there. Unfortunately, I give them credit for having discipline and to go in the gym and to do what but there's been a lot of people out there that had the talent. They didn't get that. They didn't get that break. They didn't get that help. They didn't get that opportunity. It's still you're privileged to be in that position for all the things I just described, all of it. And there's a responsibility that goes with that. And in all the other sports, there's a national commission to make sure that that's understood, to make sure that's respected, to make sure that the integrity of the sport is not damaged. I go, it's not only the job of the commission, when you see these national commissions, to make sure that there's no illegitimacy in the sport as far as the judging of the sport or the integrity of the sport. There can't be any tint of gambling or where somebody could be doing something and fixing the game. If there is, baseball gets rid of the guys. They got rid of Pete Rose because of that. Yeah. Greatest average, most hits in the history of the game, but he's gone.
Yep.
They don't play around because you can't lose the integrity of the game. And there's a national commission to make sure that doesn't happen, to make sure that there's no cheating in the game, to make sure that, look what they just did to the Houston Astros. I mean, what they just did to that team, what they did to all those players associated with the stealing of signs. I mean, right?
It's shocking to me
The
that
National
with that,
Commission came right down, but they came right down and they acted. I know they're not perfect, but they acted on it because they're in place for that. They're in place. There's a watchtower. There's no watchtower in boxing. And so what I'm saying is everyone thinks that I want a National Commission, obviously to make sure that judges don't destroy the sport. They don't destroy a fighter's life by giving a corrupt decision, an incompetent decision. Either way, it's wrong. And we've seen it forever. And then what happens? There's no National Commission, so where's the accountability? Where is the punishment? Where is somebody held their feet to the fire? The next week, they're judging again. The same judge that that it was something awful, but they're judging again because there's no national. But in baseball, I know it's not perfect, but in baseball and football and all the other major sports, there's a commission to do something about that. And not only about that part, but if there was a national commission, which I've cried for years, they would handle what you're talking about with Davis right now. They would handle it immediately. There was a running back in the NFL some years ago named Ray Rice. Do you remember him?
Oh, my God, from the Baltimore Ravens?
He was one of the best running backs in the league at the time.
Yes.
Well, maybe one of the best, one or two in the league. And he did something horrible.
Horrible.
I mean, oh
he
my
should
God.
be in prison.
Horrible. And listen, it was much worse than what we saw with Davis. I get it. It was.
Only because they had a camera on him in the elevator. I'll guarantee you with a camera behind closed doors, if you're snatching your girl
that's what I'm saying.
like that in
we
front
don't know.
of people.
What I'm saying, if you're doing that, we don't know what else you're doing. And there it is.
So Tank has been arrested for... so apparently he brought her into the bathroom and whacked her around.
See, listen, here's the
problem.
point. Let me finish where I was going with this.
Sorry.
No, you're not. It's nothing to be sorry about. Here's where I'm going with this. If you have a national commission, Ray Rice, who got caught, it was terrible. I mean, you don't even like to talk about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
What he did in the elevator with the girl and his fiance at the time, and the national commission the commission. Well, they had to. Of course, it was public. They saw it. But what did they do? Immediately suspended him. The team dropped him, and he was out of football.
I don't think he's played again, has he?
No, he never played again.
No.
Ken, that's the point. His career was taken. That privilege was taken away from him. He lost the privilege. He didn't lose his talent. He lost the privilege to play that game and get paid for it at that level. And he got suspended by the Ravens, and then he got let go by the Ravens, and nobody picked him up. He was gone. His career was taken away because there was a national commission in place to put out such punishment, to make sure there were rules, that there was accountability, there was culpability to such behavior, that there's a standard of behavior that is demanded, and if not, there's a price to pay. This is the point I'm making. If there was a national commission, all I'm saying is he'd be out of the game right now. He'd be out of boxing. He'd be suspended. What are these commissions going to do? They're a joke. No, they really are. I hate to say it, but these commissions are a joke. So half of them in the pocket of a promoter and somehow, or they're beholden to somebody, but in one way or another. They're omnipotent.
Just look what they did when he missed the weight at the weigh-in.
It's a joke. There's so many things we could talk about. We need 400 shows to cover them all. But what I'm saying with something serious like this is that it comes back to needing that police force, needing
accountability,
needing that national commission, needing that watchtower that watches over the behavior of people in the sport that have given the privilege to be in the sport. And like I said about Ray Rice, and even now Antonio Brown, the great receiver, tremendous receiver. Something's wrong with the guy.
Clearly.
But the tremendous receiver, he's got a domestic thing going on with sexual harassment. What did the league do? They suspended him. Mm-hmm. He's out of the league. He's never going to play ball again.
Nope.
I mean, here's a guy that is still in the prime of his career because he broke the rules, and there's a commission to make sure there was a price to pay.
And you're talking the best receiver in the game.
In the game. So what I'm saying is that that's what's missing in boxing.
Yep.
Is that you could talk all you want about theories and what should be done and what. Forget all that. What would be done if you had a freaking commission instead of these stupid commissioners that do nothing? If you had a national commission, right now he'd be suspended until further notice, until they looked at it further. But he'd be suspended. And a real suspension. See, boxing, it's a joke. When you want to play a game, they suspend the guy for a year. What is a year? You fight, these top guys fight once a year. So if you suspend the guy for a year, you did nothing. All you did was you put window dressing up. You made it look like you did something to get yourself off the hook. But there's not. The least of a suspension for a fighter for something serious has to be 2 years. Has to be.